Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a disassembly maintenance and first impressions for you on this knife right here. This is the MBK Pocketknife, what's the name of this thing? I want to say it's a three-letter thing, but either way, I'll make sure to include that in the description for the video. Whoops. Anyways, there we go. A couple of things to just highlight. First, we are more or less dead-setted, maybe slightly favoring the show side here. Action is crispy. There is some lock stick, though. Absolutely a little bit of lock stick on there. So we should keep that in mind as we take this guy apart. My prediction is now this is going to come apart is I take this out, take this out, take this out. There were like 2 or 3 more screws along the back here. And hopefully I'll be able to do everything from this side. So, and it looks like, I don't know whether the pivot is on top of the carbon fiber here or on the, kind of in the middle there, but we'll find out, right? Pop this loose. Pop this loose. And if you're curious, by the way, about any of the tools I'm using for this or any other disassembly, nickshabazz.com/tools will get you there. There we go. And let's go ahead and pop out. This looks to be a T10 size. Yeah, that is. T10 size. All right, beautiful. So, indeed, this pivot screw is on top of the carbon fiber, which means you do actually have to, the carbon fiber needs to be on to install the pivot. Oh, damn it. Okay, so what I just noticed is the back end of these screws. What that unfortunately means, and this is not great, what that unfortunately means is that in order to take this knife apart, rather than just unscrew, instead I need to take off the clip. I need to take off 4 more T6s, then probably 2 more inside of there. That's not great. I'm going to be honest with you here. Not super impressed by that choice. So we'll pop that loose. There's a serious burr right on that thing right there. So I take off the... Oh, okay. I just take this off. And then I have to pop the pivot loose. Oof. Set your phases to oof. Hopefully for future runs, they can maybe swap that around if that's not a pain in the neck. Because that's kind of a pain in the neck for disassembly. That's added a bunch more screws to this process. Okay, and then unfortunately, this means that I need to... Oh, no, wait, hold on. I can rotate this out of the way. Get in here with... Is that still T6? It better not be T5. Okay, good. There's that. There's that. And now the knife is disassembled. Although I need to flip it over to tell that. Okay, here's this. Okay, good. Not like loose bearings or anything like that. You know, look, that's a little thing, but it's one of those little things that can be done. They can be a nice thing. Okay, so looks like it's one of the little things that can be a nice thing. Wow, I got a vocabulary over here. Good God. All right, so let's go ahead and clean this guy off using some rubbing alcohol here. 91% isopropyl, which I was recently able to secure over at the grocery store. After a couple of months there where it was a little hard to find. So, that's nice. Still is a little hard to find, but I got a little bit, right? Oh, Rona. All right, so this is one of the videos in which I'm going to do first a disassembly and then a little bit of first impressioning of this guy. Just because a lot of folks have been asking for quicker feedback. Does this mean that I can put this knife together? What's going on here? Can I mount the pivot? No. Okay, it looks like it's actually drilled for both screws for the clip, but it doesn't have the hole here for the second clip screw. That's interesting. I mean, it makes sense at some level, but that does mean, though, potentially that you're just one carbon fiber hole away from this being a lefty-compatible knife, assuming that the clip hole pattern is the same. Is this... Yeah, it's tapped on both sides. Okay. File that one away under... Okay, whatever. But yeah, it could be that this could be lefty converted if you do it that way. I've already cleaned those. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's clean off around the pivot. We see here a ceramic detent ball, and this, by the way, speaking of detents, has a stellar little detent. Good Lord. Is that another burr? This thing has no shortage of burrs on the titanium on the inside here. Whoever put this together had the very strong opinion that, once the knife is apart, it doesn't matter. Wasn't really being, I think, built for disassembly. And that's fine. Very few things are, and I appreciate all the more when they are. But still, that's the situation here. Let's go ahead and put a little bit more booze on the cloth here, clean off these bearings, and then we should be pretty much good to put it back together. Is this paint on the underside here? Well, it was, and it's done now. All right, pop this loose, get this cleaned up there, clean off our stop pin, and we are ready to reassemble this guy. Just give this one more once over here. Okay. So, one thing I want to do before I reassemble it, actually, there are two things I want to do. One of those things is look at the bottom of this clip here. That is super duper sharp. Not a big fan of that sharpness. So what I'm going to do, actually, is take the opportunity here. Well, I've got this out. I am going to open up a container featuring a large number of DMT Dia Shop sharpening stones. Yeah, of course, seems about my speed. I put that down because it's like 20 pounds, because it's a bunch of steel plates on there. And then I'm just going to kind of calm this down a little bit. Just going to kind of round this corner off a little, because it is definitely a corner. This is, of course, not required, but it is definitely going to be a quality of life improvement on this particular pocket knife. Just kind of hitting it like this. I've had to do this a few times before. The most recent instance probably being the, and I'm kind of giving it a little bit more bend in this direction just because I am removing some material. Most recent instance of this being the CKF 520, which day one out of the box needed that badly. It was brutal. So this is a little detail, but it's definitely a little detail that matters. All right. Beautiful. Is that more or less... let me give it a little bit more love here. Almost there. Beautiful. That's a little bit better. I could probably give it a little bit more. And in fact, I will, just because I'm talking here. Why not? There we go. Rounding that off just a scotch. And now we're good to go. All right. And like I said, give the clip just a little tiny bit more bend. Make sure we're okay there. And now we can put everything back together. Sometimes you got to do it yourself. There is actually a little tiny bit of dimpling on the blade itself, which would seem to indicate that whoever put this together the first time really over-tightened it at some point in time and then backed off. So we need to be careful about that. That's the downside, although the dimpling is in the steel, which is impressive. Okay, now I need to put this back together in a very funky and specific way. I need to start off by putting the pivot through here with the blade out, like with the scales apart. I'm going to use some 10 weight nano oil here. There we go. Just do that. Now I'm going to put a little bit more 10 weight oil right here. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to do. Where is my Sharpie? Because this has some lock stick of a non-trivial order, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to coat the lock bar face here with a little bit of a Sharpie. That won't hurt anything particularly and might reduce, and I'll do the same exact thing for the area where the lock sits. And that might cut down some of that lock stick. All right. Now, as I was going to do, I put a little bit of lubrication, drop that on there, rotate, rotate, spin, 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 spinny, spinny, and we put this here. Have I lubricated the... Yeah, I have. Okay, that's good. I drop this into place. Now, next step is going to be to put a little bit of lubrication right here And right here, we drop this, rotate, rotate, rotate. And at this point, we are ready to, what are we ready to do here? Well, at the very least, we're ready to drop this on. Once I drop this on, I need to flip the knife over entirely, and then I will rotate, tighten these two things down back here. This will allow me to then put the scale in its normal position, lock the knife up. Now, in order to go further, what's the order of operations here? Make sure these are good and tight. Unfortunately, this makes putting the knife back together entirely kind of a pain in the neck, but we're going to make it happen anyways. I didn't need to remove this scale, actually, is the other consequence of this. I could have left this scale entirely on, just removed the pivot, and then that would have saved me some time. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to use a little bit of bled, of course, being a blend of blue and red. But this is not at all red. In fact, this is just blue. So maybe I am red-blue colorblind or something, which I hope not. Okay. Come on. Get in there, bro. Tighten up. There we go. Let's put this, oh no, I want this one back here. Beautiful, tighten this up. Yeah, so I could have avoided taking this off altogether, although then I wouldn't have noticed that you could, in theory, I think, drill through the carbon fiber and mount the clip on the other side. Should be interesting. But okay, so now at this point I need to screw in the pivot. The pivot is big beefy T10. So we put that in place here. And I'm going to want to try and sort of be gentle here. Okay, centering is... Oh, that action. No blade, no lock stick anymore. No blade play. I feel like it's a little over-tightened, though, so let's relax that just a tad. Nope, a little bit of play. All right. Tighten that up a little bit. Beautiful. All right, now the final step I need to do is to reattach these scales on the back side here. Because right now the pivot is the only thing holding them on there. So I tighten, and then I reinstall the clip. Let us do that. Right now, and our clip now has a little bit more rounding on the bottom. It's not quite as sharp, although it's still a little on the sharper side. But I don't want to remove too much material because then I'm going to have to bend the clip in an unnatural way, etc. So I'm just sort of trying my best here. Unfortunately, oh there. There's a reason that a lot of knives don't have... Oh, come off it. Don't fight me over here. All right, let's go ahead and Loctite both of these at once. There we go. And then hopefully I can push both of them into, there we go, that's better. Now, start off by backing the screw out a little bit just to make sure I'm not cross-threading. Okay, these screws are very, very shallow. Unfortunately, if you look at these screws, you can see here that they've done a little internal cutout chamfer thing, which means that they are, maybe these are Torx Plus, that little thing in the bottom there. I don't know, but either way, they're extraordinarily shallow. So it's very easy to potentially strip those out. Clip is perfectly fine. Tightness looks good. Let me try this in the pocket right quick. Oof. Yeah, that's still a bit of a pocket eater. One of the things that you can, that helps that fact along, I don't know if you can see this. Maybe you can. But either way, the clip is actually only touching right over on this side of things. So as a result, there's really just one point of contact here. Let me stand up and see if this works better. Yeah. The clip is not all the way flush with the side there. But that said, the knife itself is running a lot smoother, a lot better. That detent is still just magic sounding. And now we can go on to the first impressions part of the knife. First impressions are, in a lot of ways, I'm loving the action here is the news, right? The thing that is most impressive about this pocket knife, 1,000%, that's not a percentage, is the action. The action on this is quite good. And the action on this guy is good in a number of ways. I mean, A, it's reliable. It does all the things I would want to have happen for an action on a pocket knife, right? That's good. But just the sound of it, the feel of it is quite good. Really excellent detent. And then on the close, yeah, that's pretty excellent too. Big fan of that. So there is a lot to love about this knife in the action department. In terms of the blade edge comes down to actually be much thinner than you would expect, given that it is relatively thick stock and a relatively low grind. Then this swedge adds a little bit of something to make it a little bit more unique. It's good. So, I mean, the design is sort of, it's the design, right? I mean, I can't really get too deep into whether the design is, it's not necessarily for me, but at the same time, I can see a lot of people liking it. It seems very Peter Carey, right? And so that's a nice thing. There are a couple of, and you've already seen actually a couple of the issues there in the disassembly that was not amazingly done. Had they just put those two screws on either side here, around this side of things, it would have been much easier to take this knife apart, and I wouldn't have had to take out the scale screws, or I'm sorry, the clip screws on the other side. Just would have been easier by an order of magnitude to get that thing done up there. The other major issue with it is that the clip situation, that's not amazing. Having just a single point of contact there and having that point of contact be kind of a sharp, hooky-looking thing, I mean, this is staying in the pocket, that's for damn sure, but yeah. And then finally, this little bit in the back here is pretty safe. I don't really see there being an issue, but it is a little creepy. But, like I said, the big story here, the news here is this action, which is very, very, very nice. And if the rest of the design is appealing to you and it's good in the hand and whatnot, then I can see this being something you'd be interested in. But at the same time, so there you go. That's kind of the situation here, at least my very first impressions. Keep an eye out for some full reviews later on down the road. But I hope this is interesting to you, that you carry a great deal about the eventual full review, and that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.